Give me my backup, Bill.
They were hoping to bring the rates down a little bit, but inflation's, Hal said that, well, Hal said that the inflation was being a little persistent, so they wanted to put the rates.
Yeah.
I was just saying it, but Matt just,
Joe?
George, Hawaii.
Call the Glassboro Zoning Board of Adjustments regular business meeting for April 18th to order. Terry, can you please read the opening statement?
Pursuant to the Open Publics Meeting Act, I hereby announce that adequate notice of this meeting, as required by said act, has been provided by adopting the schedule of regular monthly meetings for the year 2024, which schedule was posted on the Borough Hall Bulletin Board, mailed to the South Jersey Times, and filed with the Borough Clerk.
All rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Moonen.
Here.
Mr. Alice.
Here.
Ms. Camiola. Here. Mr. Harvey.
Present.
Mr. Santor.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Perner.
Here.
Mr. Lopez.
here,
Ms. Lafferty. Here. And let the record reflect that Ms. Wyman has been excused. Mr. Casabun.
Here.
And Mr. Cohen.
Here.
All right, everybody's here. Mr. Alice, can you please swear in our professionals?
Certainly, thank you. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask each of you to raise your right hand, and each of you swear affirm testimony you're about to give in each matter tonight is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief.
Yes.
That's 2 yeses, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Everybody has a copy of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. All right, everybody has a copy of the bills. Do we have a motion to pay?
Make a motion to pay the bills?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. All right. Any incoming, outgoing correspondence we have? Anything that's
Just
good?
the two that I had listed on the back, an email and a letter
Mhm.
from CES concerning Vision Stream and Michael Tilly.
Oh, okay. All right. Public comments. Is there anybody in the audience that has anything they would like to say that does not pertain to either thing that is up for this evening?
Adam Schiffman, 54 Delsey Drive. We got a variance granted about, 2 years ago from you guys. I don't know how many of the board members were here, but we've been there for about a year. And just want to say thank you to you guys for, it's been about a year. It's been an awesome experience so far, and just thank you guys for what you do. It's a thankless job. You could be doing other stuff, and just want to say thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Okay. Let's start off with ZB 23-14. Forgive me if I butcher these names. Anna Trafalaski and Jose De Fritas, Kentucky Avenue, Block 194, Lot 56. It is Zone R. We're looking for bulk variance to allow to build a single-family dwelling on the undersized lot.
Matthew Zabel on behalf of them. She is stuck in traffic and 15 minutes out, so if you want to take the person behind us.
Okay.
She had 3 accidents on 295, and I missed them, and she hit them. She's 14 minutes out, and I don't want to delay the board.
All right, no problem. Thank you. Okay, ZB 23-16, Carmen and Sana, 417 Hamilton Road, Block 113, Lot 4.02, R2 zone. Bulk variance to allow the expansion of an existing driveway. take it away.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Carmen Insana.
All right, so you're the applicant?
Yes,
All right, then I'm gonna, you're the only one, oh, hey, how you doing? So I'm gonna ask you to raise your right hand, and do you swear affirm the testimony you give tonight is true and correct, the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
I do.
Great, and keep your voice up, because there are other people here, and just state your name again for the record.
Carmen Insana.
Gotcha, all right, thank you, sir. Mr. Insana, take it away.
So, as I said, my name is Carmen Insana. I am a lifelong Glassboro resident, and I am a landlord in town. And I am seeking a variance for additional parking at a property that I built. So I'm assuming that you have my application with the reasons that I believe that the board would approve my application. So, excuse me.
So, Mr. Insana, you have the good fortune, or the good sense, to have a professional planner with you. That's what I'm
I do.
surmising. Is
I
that
do.
accurate? So, then, because of that, it's your opportunity now to utilize that resource or that expertise, right?
Very good.
There you go. So we're going to have, this is Tiffany Morrissey, correct?
Yes, and he also has his engineer with him as well, so we probably both know these.
Okay, and that would be Greg Simons?
Yes.
Then I'm going to ask each of you to rise, each of you to raise your right hand, and do each of you swear or affirm testimony you're about to give in this application is true and correct, to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
Yes.
That's 2 yeses. So, having said that, back to you, Mr. Insana, to pick who you want to kick off with.
We'll start off with the
I'll-
Ladies first.
All right, so, as, the application that you have before you is for several variances, because Mr. Insana owns property, on Hamilton Avenue, which does not, meet 417 Hamilton Road, excuse me, not Hamilton Avenue. It's block 113, lot 4.02. There is an existing dwelling on that property, which was constructed in accordance with all zoning standards, and was part of a subdivision that was approved by the planning board back in 2022. The property has 12 bedrooms and is used for student housing. The property is in your R2 residential zoning district. The ordinance has limitations on parking, the size of the parking lots, the setback of the parking lots, and how it's provided for on the lot itself. So Mr. Insana has requested a variance, and it's a kind of a twofold variance, because if you've been by the property, there's an existing driveway with sidewalk around it. That existing driveway does not conform to the ordinance as it is already constructed, so we need to rectify that. And then the proposal is to extend that driveway to the back building line to provide more parking on the property. This is a 12-bedroom home that is permitted and built according to the zoning code and according to the construction code. The house meets the lot coverage requirements. It's an 18% building coverage, and the lot is oversized. The minimum lot size in this zone is 7,500 square feet. This lot is 11,250 square feet, so it's an oversized, or 11,625 square feet. It's an oversized lot, so there's room to provide for additional parking on the property. The specific variances that are requested are to the driveway width. The driveway width is permitted at 20 feet. If we include the sidewalks on both sides, the driveway width would be 27.4 feet, or 27.36. The setback is also requested for a lot that is over 50 feet in width. This is a 75-foot wide lot. You are required to have a 5-foot setback to the side property line. We're proposing a 1-foot setback. We will also be proposing a split rail fence down that side property line to demarcate so that you don't have vehicles getting into the grass or encroaching into the sideline any further. So the proposal, which is not out there yet, is to also, not on site yet, is to add that split rail fence to demarcate so that the property line is clear. We also request a variance from the maximum parking area. The ordinance permits a maximum parking area of 10% or 1,000 square feet, whichever is less. In this case, 1,000 square feet is less than 10% of the lot area. The existing parking area in the front that is existing is estimated at 1,375 square feet per the plans we've submitted. And then the extension would be another 1,069 square feet for a total of 2,444 square feet. Lots of area for parking on this property. There are also waivers. The waivers are from your design standards section of your ordinance, and those waivers are consistent with the variances that I just listed, as well as waivers from the section 54 of your design standards does not allow for the jockeying of cars around. It requires that if there's more than 6 spaces, that the area be curbed on the perimeter, typical of a larger type parking lot that you would see for a traditional commercial establishment or an apartment complex or something of that nature. And it requires some other waivers specific to the way this is laid out on the property. So in this aspect, what we have to explain and demonstrate to you is why. Why do we want to have this excessive parking area? Why is this variance warranted? What is the situation that impacts this property that makes it make sense to grant this variance under the C2 criteria of the municipal land use law? The C2 criteria deals with a finding that the benefits of granting the variance would substantially outweigh the detriments, and that purposes of zoning are advanced in the finding of those benefits. And so when we look at this property, we have to look at many factors that go into why this makes sense on this property. First and foremost, the house is a permitted house. It wasn't constructed illegally. It wasn't converted illegally. There are 12 bedrooms, and there is a need for parking on the property. The parking on the property to provide for the area around this property on Hamilton Road and the surrounding area is a permit parking only. There are limited available permits, and there is no overnight parking permitted. So we have 12 bedrooms. There's 16 people that are permitted to reside in the dwelling, and we have to provide parking for them because they're not able to park overnight. What they do is they request a permit for the temporary overnight parking. You can get it 6 times a month, and they take turns getting that permit and trying to maneuver and make the parking situation work. The parking lot that's there now, or the driveway that's there now, allows for the parking of about 9 vehicles if they line up appropriately. It is a tight fit, and it is not inconsistent with some other properties and that have similar situations where they have a number of vehicles and no on-street parking available or permitted, so you have to provide a place for their cars to be placed. This is proximate to the campus. At Rowan University, you are a freshman or a sophomore, you have to live on campus. Upperclassmen can live off of campus. So these are upperclassmen who are at a different point in their college career where they need their vehicle. They're either working part-time, or they have an internship, or they have other activities that are related to their daily back and forth that require them to have a vehicle. When you're a freshman and a sophomore in college, you're not necessarily working, you're getting acclimated. You're not necessarily having your internships at that point in time either. As you get later on in college, in your junior, your senior year, or your graduate area, you have a need to have a vehicle. Additionally, because you can't necessarily live on campus because there's a campus housing issue, and so the upperclassmen choose to live off campus, you have to have the ability to go grocery shopping, to get the things you need, to get your toilet paper, to get your food, to get your supplies, and so you need a vehicle in order to make that happen. So the people that live in this structure, in this residence, require a vehicle in order to in order to live and do what we do every day. I have 5 kids. 3 of them are in college, 2 of them are in high school, both juniors and seniors. So I will have 4 kids in college next year, although one's graduating, so I just keep rotating, right? And when they're home, they're all driving. The one that is not driving will be driving this summer. So at the end of this summer, I will have 5 vehicles, plus my vehicle and my husband's vehicle. So I understand parking and what it's like to deal with parking in a residential setting. My kids, the three of them that are in college are a sophomore, a junior, and a senior. My senior's at LaSalle, he drives. He didn't drive until his junior year, but he needed his vehicle because he's on the crew team and you have to get to practice. He doesn't work, he needs to work, but he rows crew. Parking in the city is complicated. They have on-site parking available and he parks on the street. I'm looking forward to the end of May when the car comes home and I don't have to worry about what's happening to his vehicle, where he's parking, and who he's walking by to get back to his house. My junior is in New Brunswick at Rutgers University. He lives off campus because he has a house year-round up there, but it's a student housing that he lives in. And he has to drive because he works, fortunately he works, but he also has activities that relate to his education, and he has to be available to transport himself to different areas throughout North Jersey in order to fulfill his education requirements. My daughter is a sophomore in South Carolina, University of South Carolina. Freshmen get housing on campus, no one else does. She wanted to live in a house. I made her live in an apartment complex because I didn't want my daughter's car being parked on the street, not knowing where she was walking to get home late at night. Maybe I'm a little biased, but the boys I felt a little bit better with. My daughter, we had strict requirements. What we have here are people living in this home, and if they can't provide the place for them to park on their property, they're going to park further away. They're gonna walk further to keep their vehicle there for overnight parking. They're going to use the permit process to take turns who gets to park closer with the overnight parking, and then others are gonna park further away. That does two things. It creates an issue for parking in other residential areas that may not have an issue because they're parking further away where they're allowed to park without permit parking requirements and walking 3-4 blocks back. Or they're going to have people moving the cars around in order to make sure that they're in the street. The ones that are in the street are allowed in the street, the ones that aren't are not. And so there's already this situation on this property where the cars are back to back. Whether it's the driveway width that we're permitted, the expanded driveway width which we're requesting, or the expanded driveway depth which would allow for up to 15 vehicles, it's going to be a tight fit on this property. But it provides a better zoning alternative to them parking elsewhere and trying to find ways to be able to have their vehicles. They have to coordinate. They have to learn to be adults. They have to create a schedule so that whoever's parked in first isn't the one who has to leave first in the morning. They're managing that with the 3 cars that they have deep now. So we believe they'll be able to manage it and create a schedule and make it work for them to create a better alternative and a more ideal situation for this property. Now, there are other homes throughout Glassboro that have stacked parking. Some of them are done really well. Some of them are done haphazard. Your ordinances were designed and created specifically to make sure you don't have that haphazard. You're not allowed to pull up and park on the grass. Mr. Insana wants to make sure that split rail fence is up so that they're not gonna pull around each other on the grass. That will keep it contained. It would require them to make that schedule and ensure who's parking where and how to get in and out of that area. Mr. Insana has done a very nice job in terms of the landscaping. He didn't just do asphalt, he put sidewalks on both sides just to have it a better curb appeal so that it looks nicer. Where some of these you have stone on the side, or you just have the full asphalt width or some other alternative. Here, it's at least designed in a way that's attractive so that it can be kept nice looking, because you don't have cars there every day all the time filled with every single space. They're out and about, so when no one's home, it looks like a nice driveway. Under the municipal land use law, we have to demonstrate what the positive criteria are in this situation and what the benefits are. When you have the C2 variances, there's a case called Kaufman. There has to be a benefit to the community that is found from the variance that we're requesting. It can't just be to the property owner. Yes, there's a benefit to the property owner because the residents need a place to park, but there's also a benefit to the community because it provides clean, organized parking on site, and it takes away the impact of parking elsewhere in the community. In this instance, there's 2 purposes of zoning that I believe are advanced, and that includes Purpose A, which is to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use or development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. And here, I believe providing for appropriate on-site parking, although it exceeds what's allowed in your ordinance, provides a better zoning alternative promoting that public health and safety and general welfare so that people are able to be proximate to their home, that the college students are not walking 3 or 4 blocks in order to have a place to park their car overnight. And we're not taking away the overnight on-street parking from other people that might need it in terms of that special permit that you're allowed to have on occasion. Additionally, I believe the purpose of zoning, Purpose M, to encourage coordination of the various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development with a view of lessening the cost of such development and to the more efficient use of land. Now, in this instance, allowing for this driveway to extend into that side yard, that's not a side yard that's going to be utilized. It's not an open space where someone's going to sit outside. They're going to use their backyard. They use the backyard currently. So this is dead space. There's currently a fence there. We would move the fence back, and we'll be able to provide on-site parking with a more efficient use of land. Our engineers here, we want to make sure that the drainage concerns are accommodated, because if we're adding more pavement, you want to make sure that you're not creating a drainage problem. And to the degree the board has any questions or we can address through Mr. Simon's testimony, we're able to accommodate any stormwater impacts. So, in my opinion, the benefits that are afforded this application in order to remedy a situation that exists and is not uncommon, and it's a difficult one because some people do it well and some people do it haphazard. Mr. Insano wants to do it correct and he wants to do it right. In terms of your second prong for the municipal land use law standards for a C variance, I also have to demonstrate and you have to find that if you grant this variance, it doesn't cause a substantial impairment of your zoning ordinance or your master plan, and it doesn't cause a substantial detriment to the public good. So we've talked about the clear understanding and controls in your ordinance about providing for structured parking and not haphazard parking. Your ordinance is very specific in what is required. And and I know you're familiar with it, but I just want to go through. Parking is permitted in a driveway and garage only. Can't park anywhere else on the property. No parking is permitted to extend into the right-of-way or block a sidewalk. You have to make sure you have enough depth to the driveway so that you're not interfering with the sidewalk and blocking that area. No parking or driveway access is permitted on grass areas. When I had my first house, my neighbor would park in her front yard. It drove me batty. Very nice. I loved her, but I hated the parking on the grass and in the driveway. So that's something we are also addressing, which is an ordinance requirement, but is being done in a manner so that it looks more like a driveway with the walkways on either side, and that the parking spaces are appropriately sized. So you've taken many measures to ensure that when you do have a driveway that is 1,000 square feet, which is your limitation, that it's designed appropriately. And that works for properties where you don't have as many people residing there. But here we have more people living here, we have an oversized lot, and we have the ability to create a solution that doesn't negatively impact the intent of your zoning ordinance and master plan, nor does it negatively impact the public good. Because by putting the parking spaces on the property, delineating them with the fence, you have the sidewalk down each side, you have the asphalt in the middle, it's a very nice curb appeal, it looks nice as it can when you have that many vehicles, but it looks nice, it's not a detractor to the area. We have some pictures, and I just want to show you a few pictures, because I think that helps to understand, and in case you didn't get to see the property, to understand what is out there and how the property looks. And I don't know if I want to use all of them.
You don't want to use all of them.
No, you don't.
No, so I will,
Just pass it down the line.
yes, well, I wanna, oh, you stapled them.
Oh, hold the phone.
You staple
She's
it?
gonna go
They're
through 'em.
stapled. So Mr. Insana took these pictures, and if you need him to explain them instead of me, we can do that, but I think this would be a little bit more efficient. So the first picture is a picture of the property as it exists with the existing driveway, showing the cars stacked in the front and the sidewalk on either side. The second picture is a
So
similar.
on the back of that, you're gonna write A1,
Yeah.
and then as you go sequentially, you're gonna write on the back A1, A2, A3. They'll be your exhibits, they'll be incorporated herein, and you'll be publishing the explanation right on the record, so that's great. And then when you're done, presumably you've got a copy, you'll hand those up to us.
Correct.
And then that'll be part of the file.
No, go ahead, no. So the second picture is the same.
Excuse me for a second. Can you pass some down? I mean, that's
Yeah,
kind
we
of.
have any
So while
copies?
I'm going
Makes
through
sense.
them, that's
If you got
fair.
another set,
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
pass
Yeah.
those around. Just hand them up at one of the ends.
I mean, I don't wear
Thank you.
glasses, but my colleagues look like they do, so I can see it. They may not be able
No,
to see
no.
it.
Okay, so that first picture is the property as it exists on a nice sunny day. The second picture is the same property, but it shows you the other side of the driveway, which is where the sidewalk is right along the property line at that reduced setback, which requires the variance. There is no split rail fence there yet, but there will be if you approve this. That's A2. A3 is a picture of the house across, you're standing in the driveway of the house across the street. To the left is the subject property, and then the rancher, which is right across the street, is the house next door. So you can see that there's a similar driveway across the street, and that the area does have cars parked. It's not, this isn't the only house that has an issue with parking, so
How many cars do they park across the street?
I'm gonna have Mr. Insana ask that because he is,
Mr. Insana, do you know how many cars park across the street
Are
from
we,
you?
are we speaking about the Rancher House?
Yes.
or-
Yes.
Yes,
I believe 5 or 6 cars parked there.
okay,
there are 4 in
And
the
they're- and-
picture.
And they're 3 wide.
okay. Thank you.
I think it's a
Mhm.
six-bedroom house, I believe.
Yeah. So the balance of these photos in this array, the rest of them, and I'll mark them, are pictures of other properties throughout Glassboro that have the stacked parking situation, some done well, some done and grandfathered the way they are. Just to show that this is not an inconsistent development pattern in the community, and we wanna make sure that if we are able to do it, that we do it in a way that is appropriate and in some instances better. So that would be a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And if we want to know which one is which address, I'd have to have Mr. Insana come up
No,
and
that's fine, that's
testify
fine.
to that.
I mean, they'll speak for themselves. You're
Right.
just representing that they were all taken literally within a couple of city blocks of the site, I presume.
Some within a couple of blocks and some on the other side of campus, so they're, shows the, both areas of the town,
Okay.
yeah. And I'm just writing the A numbers on the back.
Excuse me, Mr. Insana, I'm looking at a fence here. Is that the type of fence you're gonna put up, the split rail?
Which picture?
Well, I don't have a number on it. It's the fifth one here, this one. Is that the type you're gonna put, that split rail?
That would be the fence, yes.
Okay.
To
Okay,
prevent
thank you.
anyone going
Right,
onto
right.
the adjacent
Right.
properties or even onto the grass.
Very
on the
nice.
existing property.
Thank you.
And I have more pictures of other houses. I don't know that we need to show all of those to you. I think what you have might be enough, but if you're curious, I have more that are more
Did you see the
reflective
fence?
of the other areas near this property.
Yeah.
And all the pictures are all rental, student rentals.
He didn't come to my house with all my kids home.
Is the house adjacent to your property? Is that a student house or just a regular residential
That is
family?
student housing. The Rancher on the.
On the right, looking at your house to the right-hand
Yes,
side?
yeah. Yeah, there's only 3 houses on that entire 400 block that are not student housing. And they're in from the corner, the first 3 houses in from the corner off of Harvard Road.
So may I inquire, Ms. Morrissey, A11, it looks like
That
kind of
just
a
shows that-
muddy tire and
So
mud.
that's to demonstrate that without the fence, they sometimes might go off of the driveway. So that's why we want to provide the fence to ensure that that doesn't happen because Mr. Insana wants his properties to look nice. He doesn't want to have that kind of situation.
Okay.
What insurance is there that all cars are always maintained in working order? And not, there was one that had a cover on it. That does become a problem in any area where you can wind up with junkers and,
So it might be something we can write into the lease that the cars have to be be operational.
You mean a car that's just sitting there, okay, I did not understand. I can incorporate, currently, I don't believe I have that in my lease. I have never had that problem. Normally, the cars, however,
Licensed, registered, insured, and operable.
yes, very good.
You had a
Operable.
sentence.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can add that to the lease, under the rules,
to
along
address-
with all the other rules. There's plenty of them, including trash and.
Yes. So there were reports issued by your professionals, and a lot of what's in there, I believe I tried to address in terms of what the variances were and why I believe the variances are approvable under the municipal land use law. Some of those items, you might need some testimony from Mr. Simons, and I'm sure they'll go through them and we can answer any questions. I just want to summarize in saying that this is the best alternative to a problem. It keeps the kids off the street in other areas. It's nice not having vehicles parked on the street, but if you don't have on-street parking, it also creates a parking problem in general. But not having on-street parking is also safer because you don't have people walking out in between the cars, and you have, you don't want to have delivery trucks going down the street, someone coming out between the cars, having them all on site, and having that no parking restriction allows for that cleaner feel and cleaner look. And if you didn't have parking permits required, you'd have people fighting for parking spaces. They wouldn't need to put nice driveways on their property that might require variances but provide a better zoning alternative. So in my professional opinion, I believe that there are benefits that are not just to the applicant but to the community in providing for this extended parking, and that any of the impacts that are associated with it can be mitigated in terms of the stormwater design, and we'll have that conversation as we get into the professional reports. And as you can see, with the way that this is done, it's not just the asphalt to asphalt with the sidewalk on either side, kind of gives it a dressier feel. Yes, the vehicles will end up parking in part when they're there on the sidewalk when it's full capacity, but during the day, if they're not there, at least it has a nicer appeal.
And just to make one clarification, there are 6 parking spaces on we're utilizing the blacktop, not 9.
Right now.
In the event that we widen it and extend it, it would be widened to accommodate 3 wide.
Thank you.
Sure.
And so that's all that I have on my end.
Any questions of the board?
Not at this present time.
I have to say one thing. I'd have to compliment, just looking at the property itself. You run a tight ship, I could see that. Looks very, very nice.
Thank you very much. Because I grew up here, and I know that it is making an impact in the area there, that's the same neighborhood I grew up in. I have spent a lot of money to beautify the properties, including sprinkler systems, landscaping, sod, the driveway, the fencing, all of that, because I want the neighborhood to look nice. I
Oh, it
have
shows.
several properties actually on that street, and I've gone the extra mile and spent a lot of, just on the landscape, tens of thousands of dollars on each of the properties.
Oh, actually, I do have one thing to add. There was a comment in the professional reports that sidewalk is required and street trees are required. This was approved through a minor subdivision in 2022, which did waive the sidewalk and the street trees for this area. So I'm
Well,
not.
that was then, this is now.
I'm just,
Right,
there was a reason for it at that point in time. There is no sidewalk on this side of the street, and the board found that 2 years ago it wasn't necessary to add that here, so.
All right, Mr. Casavone.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to go to me, I can just summarize my letter somewhat quickly. And what's really gonna come out to be a counterpoint to some of the testimony. Everything in my letter was referenced in the testimony that we heard. But in my letter, I did really endorse some of the variance requests, namely, the driveway setback from the side yard and the lack of any type of drive aisle. And let me just talk about those two separately very quickly. The driveway setback from a property line really, I don't really consider it dead space. It's kind of almost a construction tolerance buffer so that the work, like a fence or any maintenance to that driveway, doesn't encroach onto the neighboring property. This is only 1 foot off the property, so it's very tight to the adjacent property, which would be under control by a different entity. In terms of the drive aisles, while I realize this is a driveway, I wrote my letter in the context of the ordinance, which, defines how a formal parking lot would look. And that was really just to create a contrast and just to try to bring to light the fact that they are proposing to park up to 15 cars here, and we have heard it's gonna probably be difficult to, the tenants will be on their own to manage those 15 cars, 3 wide, 5 rows deep, and it'll be, it would be up to them to manage it, and I don't know how that really gets monitored and enforced on a regular basis. And I would just end with, it's a residential zone, but it's not a typical residential driveway, is what it comes down to. And what is, some of the testimony is that this is an approved residential dwelling, but it's not a typical residential driveway. And those are some of the reasons that I would point out that I didn't recommend the entire package of variances.
I didn't hear that last part, George.
I just said, it's, Steve, that's in summary the reason I didn't endorse the entire package of variances that were requested by the applicant.
Thank you.
And I named it too in some of my reasons.
Okay.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Referring to the review letter dated March 12th, 2024, we've heard the applicant's planner, Tiffany Morrissey, who I have a great deal of respect for, give testimony regarding a C2 bulk variance and referring to the purposes of zoning. With respect to the parking lot, I don't actually agree with all of the testimony that was given by Ms. Morrissey. I think that selecting purposes A and M, it feels like a stretch, I guess. And I'd also like to just speak to both of those briefly. With respect to purpose A, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate use of development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. The parking standards in the Glassboro ordinance and also in the residential site improvement standards talk about providing ingress and egress to all parking spaces to ensure ease of mobility, ample clearance, and safety of vehicles and pedestrians. So I take issue there, just referring back to the local ordinance and the residential improvement standards. I don't see the connection in promoting that purpose by having a stacked driveway of the type that's shown on the site plan. Also, I'd like to mention that, and she didn't talk about purpose I, but I'd like to just mention briefly a couple of purposes from the municipal land use law that I think would be contravened potentially. One would be purpose B, to secure safety from fire, flood, panic, and other natural and man-made disasters. I don't think it takes too much imagination if there were, for example, a need to evacuate in front of a hurricane or something like that. That could become problematic. I think it could slow down the process of evacuation. When we talk about fire, flood, panic, and other natural and man-made disasters, if that parking lot were congested enough that the residents weren't able to evacuate timely. Purpose C, to provide adequate light, air, and open space. Well, this will encroach on the open space provided on this lot, the proposed driveway and parking area, which actually constitute a tripling of what's allowed in the code to provide the parking area that they're talking about. So I see that as a detriment. And purpose I, to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangements. A single-family neighborhood doesn't typically have up to 15 cars parked around or near the house. It becomes what I think would be a visual impact. I don't see that the applicant's proposing any additional landscaping or anything that might offset that. So and I'm not sure how purpose M applies by lessening the cost. In some ways, I think they're increasing the cost because they then have to provide an elaborate sort of stormwater, or an increased stormwater management system to handle the extra impervious area. So I would disagree with the analysis under the C2 variance. I think it could also be harmful to the zone plan and master plan. And that would be my testimony. I do have a couple of other things we would like to get testimony from the applicant about whether the affordable housing requirements would be met. Otherwise, I have no other testimony at this time.
Well, we could answer that, because the applicant would meet any and all COA and/or growth share obligations, because what's required is required, so that's beyond the board's jurisdiction. But, Mr. Chair, may I inquire of our engineer for just 1 second?
Sure.
So Mr. Councilman, you went through and we heard a little bit from Ms. Morrissey about runoff, and then Mr. Cohen just brought that up again. When you were giving your report, what's with the stormwater? What do you think about that?
Well, there is a small storage system, underground storage system in the rear of the yard that was put in as part of the development of the house. I believe that the applicant would, at least his engineer, would evaluate the capacity to see if it could accommodate the increased runoff from the expanded driveway if it was approved, and perhaps what's there could contain it, or perhaps it would need to be expanded. But
So have those calculations already been done? Mr. Simons got them to you, had a conversation with you, something else or nothing else?
I don't believe there's been a verification that it has
Okay.
capacity.
Well, we're in luck, because,
He's
Mr.
here.
Chairman, we have Mr. Simons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We did provide some stormwater calculations on the plan. The stormwater system originally constructed was constructed a little bit larger than what was approved, so there was some additional storage capacity. There is a shortage at the calculations, so the existing stormwater system would have to be expanded, or an additional system or other type of means provided for the stormwater runoff. But the system could be expanded to control the stormwater runoff on site.
Yeah, I don't want to paraphrase, so that's why I'm going to ask you. If I'm understanding things, you're saying you've done preliminary calculations, and you haven't really finalized calculations yet because they haven't been shared with Mr. Cosman, is that in essence? And if relief was granted, you'd have to do that?
That's correct.
You're pretty much confident that you need an expansion of the existing system?
Yes,
There you go. Well, that's what I was getting at.
we can accommodate that on site and provide that area on site on the property.
Oh, that's implicit in your testimony, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions of the board?
One question, I was just thinking, it's 12-bedroom, but yet you have 16 people, 16 tenants that are there. Can you kind of address that, or trying to
Correct.
understand that?
So that's basically how the house was designed. 4 of the bedrooms are 13 and a half by 14 with walk-in closets. So in the event that they chose to double up in those rooms, it would accommodate the 16 people. There are also 5.5 baths in the property, and laid out with the toilets laid out separately, the vanities laid out in a common area, and the showers separate as well. So there could be 3 different things going on all at the same time. It's very functional.
Okay.
When did you build this house?
It was completed in September of '23.
And at the time was 12 rooms, correct?
12 bedrooms, yes.
And you only had 5 parking spots? Why didn't you come before us before to expand the parking?
So, I did not take into consideration, or I was unaware that there was an ordinance on the books that allow them to call their phone, their license plates in, or they can even actually go online, and they can do it up to 6 times a month. I was completely unaware of that. Normally, all of my other properties, I always made sure that there was sufficient parking. Now, I was not the first person to build these larger properties. Originally, when these larger properties were built, they were built without the parking, and some of them still don't have the parking. And I thought that was crazy, but then it was kind of functional. So then I moved forward. I did not anticipate this situation, because I clearly had it stated in my lease that parking may be limited. It will be up to the tenant to decide who will and will not have a vehicle at the property. I was unaware of this ordinance where they can phone in their cars, so now what happens is, instead of them leaving their cars home, they bring them to the house, and they kind of rotate them on the street, so there's constantly cars that are in the street. And I myself don't like it. I'm sure the other 3 people on the block don't like it that are residents. And because of that, I mean, I can just leave things be the way that they are. I'm willing to spend the money and to do it properly to get these cars off the street, because there's constantly cars on the street.
Well, have you received complaints? Have people been on your back?
No,
Okay.
no, they have not. They have not. I just don't like to have these vehicles on the street all the time when it can be accommodated. And as far as the driveway goes, quite a few of the pictures that you have the parking in front of the house. And I know that that is something that the borough of Glassboro is not something that they like, having the parking in front of their properties. I don't want to see a parking lot in front of the house. Because we have the sufficient lot size, a 75-foot building lot, this parking is going to be the same as a regular house, that the parking would go down one side or the other, and it would all be contained on one side of the house and not in front of the house.
Excuse me, sir, do you get any complaints from the police, ticketing and so forth?
I get complaints from the kids.
But not the police?
No.
Okay.
That the kids, they get ticketed because sometimes they may forget to phone in their cars, but,
Right.
I mean, if they have the parking, I could write that in the lease too, that they need to utilize the parking. If there's 15 people that live there, then the 15 spots need to be utilized, and there shouldn't be anybody except for guests that come to the house.
So just a quick follow-up. You mentioned you didn't anticipate it when you built the house for 16 people and 5 original parking spaces?
6.
6, and you said you didn't, what did you think, like, if you were just you thought maybe less than 50% of the people that occupy the house would have a car? When the earlier testimony said everybody there was for, higher level upperclassmen that needed cars all the time?
Again, I was not the first one to build these properties, and I thought it crazy that these properties were built without sufficient parking, and the areas that they were built, they didn't even allow any parking on the streets, on Carpenter Street, on Main Street, and it worked. So that's why I put it in my lease specifically, that parking is limited and it's up to them to decide. And again, I did not anticipate this happening because I was unaware of the ordinance that they can actually phone in their car 6 times. Normally, they do that if they have guests over and there is no parking, because again, all of my other properties, I've never bought a property unless it had sufficient parking. This is what happened, and there's just constantly cars on the street. And again, I don't have to do anything. I want to get these cars off the street, and I want to do it right, and I want the curb appeal to be there because the house is brand new, along with 2 other ones that are there that are brand new.
How many of the current residents have a car now? All of them?
I am not sure if all of them have a vehicle, but the parking lot is normally full with 6 cars, and there's normally 4 or 5 cars are always in and out. So I'm not there first thing in the morning if they park overnight. But I would imagine 12 at least. And I would imagine that that's also due to the situation, that there is no parking. Glassboro does not have a parking alternative. If wherever you rent does not have parking, there just isn't any.
Any other questions of the board?
Just so I can get a good understanding. So you're talking about expanding the present driveway, removing the sidewalk on the right-hand side, and going all the way back to the back of the house, and then it's almost like a wraparound driveway? Am I understanding that?
No, sir, no wraparound driveway. If I can bring this easel up, so basically,
Extend to the rear of the house, the driveway, so it'll be from the roadway to the rear of the house.
Okay, so it's not going in the back?
Correct.
Okay.
no, yeah, it's going to the back of so if this were the house, the driveway would stop here, and the split rail fence would go in front of that, so they can't drive forward
Okay.
and drive around the back of the yard, although there's a fence, and on the side
Okay.
to keep them contained.
The back is where they've got the stormwater management.
Yeah. I was just looking here at the map, and it was presented, it looked as though that it was actually a wraparound, so.
Yeah, and then the driveway, as it goes back, the driveway would be 3 wide as opposed to, and I would like to keep if I was able to do the sidewalk as opposed, as opposed to just the blacktop, to border it, to make it look nicer, I'm willing to do that if I get approved.
Any other questions?
No, I see you have 15 on here. Now, as one of the professionals stated about the safety concern, would it be, behoove you to try to limit that down to maybe, say, 12 or 13 to keep open like a type of fire lane in case there was, one of the cars, somehow catches fire or there's a breakdown or anything like that? Just from a safety concern, is 15 like the dead number for you, or is there any type of leeway or giveaway? Because you say you have 16 or 14 residents, I'm sorry?
It doesn't necessarily, there are 16 residents.
Okay.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that there's always going to be 16 people there. This particular group chose to have 16 people because it will comfortably accommodate them.
Okay.
There's a, so, I mean, it doesn't exactly have to be 15.
Well, of the
I'm just going
16
down the
residents
side.
presently, how many have cars?
I would say about a dozen have cars. And I also, again, think that is due to
So
the
it's 12 cars.
situation.
Okay, well, that's to Mr. Perner's point, so
Yeah.
that's your answer. 16 people now,
12 cars. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, might I add one more thing, if no one
Of course.
has any questions? There has been some history with this property, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the original plot plan was approved to have a driveway that was compliant. It was about 960 square feet and 20 feet wide, and over the course of construction, decision was made, honestly, just to expand it a little bit, put some more concrete in to let to allow more cars to park. So essentially, the driveway got put into a non-conforming condition, I guess is part of it, because it is 27 feet wide now, and over 1,000 square feet. Is that correct? The original subdivision had a compliant driveway?
That is correct. That is correct. When that happened, I mean, it falls on my part. I'd like to blame it all on the builder. But the lot across the street has the same formation. And the lot across the street, or the house across the street, is a 100-foot wide lot. Apparently, they had changed the ordinance. It's my understanding they allowed you to have a walkway on the sides of the driveway. So when and then that's what I did across the street. So when the builder said, do you want the same thing across the street? I said, yes. So when I went there, I had called the engineers to unearth again the markers for the property because the landscapers were coming. And when I came there and I saw where the property marker was, it was 4 inches off of the property line. I was unaware of that, or that would not have happened. Now, I don't know if it's the builder that I pay or my fault, but
Well,
that
it's your
that did
fault.
happen.
Your fault.
Ultimately, you're the owner.
Very
so-
good, my
Well,
fault.
that's just the way it is. So having said that, Mr. Costa, when you call that out, to what end? To suggest?
Mr. Insana had said he doesn't have to actually do anything, like, he doesn't have to expand the property it doesn't have to expand the driveway to expand the parking. He's trying to do that to help his tenants. But I would object a little bit to the.
So you're kind of saying, at a minimum, he's got to clean up what he's got right now.
Well, right, if the board were
I
not
hear
to
you.
approve this, the
Right.
driveway would still be in a non-conforming condition.
Right. Any other questions? With no questions, do I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so be it. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak about this agenda item? Speak now.
Move we close the,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so be it. All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
I personally think that, from what I see around town, I think he put a first-class home up. Everything I see is first class, and I just can't see how we couldn't grant a yes to this.
Is that a motion?
do you want to make a motion?
Is that a motion?
Should I make a
Yes,
motion?
that's a motion, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll second it.
All right, so you're making a motion.
Motion to grant the
Grant the
relief as requested, together with everything that's been adduced during the hearing of the matter, and that'll be incorporated into the resolution. And I believe the Vice Chair, Ms. Camiola, second that, Mr. Chair.
Are we including the water management?
Oh,
Drainage?
Definitely.
absolutely. That's
Okay.
their obligation to get those calculations tightened up, done, and published to Mr. Costello for his review.
All right, we have a first and second. Do we have roll call?
Ms. Lafferty?
Although Ms. Morrissey's testimony was very, very persuasive, I have to go with our professionals who are not in favor of this application. They're not meeting the various reasons for zoning, and so my vote's no.
Closer than pretty much any other places. in
Mr.
town.
Lopez?
I also vote no. 15 cars in any residential area is excessive to me. 5 stacked by 3.
Mr. Perner?
I also have to vote no. My concern is still the safety of the community with 15 cars and no form of relief to get them out if anything were to happen. Does pose a threat to the town.
Mr. Smith?
Four.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said, Mr.
Four.
Smith. 4?
Did you want to give a reason why you're voting for?
Because I think it's contingent that this gentleman worked with his engineer to get the stuff to our professionals.
Whatever needs to be done.
Mr. Harvey?
Four. I agree just as well. If they can comply with the stormwater management, that's paramount for me.
Mr. Santor?
Yes, I think, like I said earlier, I think from the question I asked them, are the police coming there? Are they harassing? Are they writing tickets? And if I was a homeowner on a block and he wants to do everything he wants to do to comply with us, I can't see why we can't grant a yes. As far as what this gentleman said about if there's a hurricane, well, I tell you the truth, I won't be jumping in my car. I'll be looking for cover. So as far as, I think my own opinion, I think what you're doing is nice for the neighborhood, the 3 people that live there that own their homes. If I was living there, I admire you for it. So I say yes to it. Not to have a big speech, but I say yes.
Ms. Camiola?
I'm going to say yes to it also. I've lived in my house since I was a little kid, like 4. Okay, and then bought it from my mother and still there. The last couple years, we've had a lot of college students on our block. our block sort of took a shorter period of time. We had, issues with all the cars being out on the street. And, we finally got everybody trained. You know, if you park your car on the street and you don't have a thing, somebody's gonna report you. And we have no problem on our street anymore. I mean, there's always somebody that, you know, parked, but it's not thousands of people. Nobody's blocked my driveway in like maybe 2 years now. I mean, I used to have to like call and have it threatened to be, you know,
I
posted.
think you
So-
made your point.
So, yes, I made my point.
So you made it a horse race, the,
Mr. Moonen?
I'm not in favor of it.
you just called.
Well, I called everybody. The alternatives don't get called?
No, if you have 7, you just call the 7.
Oh, okay.
Who was the alternate?
Who's the first alternate?
Miss Lafferty.
Well,
Who's the second alternate?
Mr. Lopez.
Mr. who?
Mr.
Who?
Lopez is the
So
second.
that's 2 no's.
No, he counts.
So now who do we have that, is that, so now you're down to
It's
6,
4-3.
you need 1 more. You just said, who's the first alternate?
Miss Lafferty is
Okay,
Who's
the,
the
then
second alternate? so
wait,
we're
wait,
So
I'm
her-
sorry.
she's
Mr.
back.
Lopez is the first alternate,
Oh,
and Miss
then-
Lafferty is the second.
Okay, so one of them's back. It turns out the first alternate, which we now established, is Mr. Lopez.
Correct.
Still a horse race, still a yes. There you go. All right. There you go. 4-3.
Thank you very much.
So 4 to
Thank you.
3, 4 to 3.
4-3.
Feel free to drive by, it'll be very nice, I promise.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you again.
Take care, good night.
Good night.
Next up, ZB 23-14. Anna Trofaleski and Jose De Freitas, Kentucky Avenue, Block 194, Lot 56. It's an R zone.
That's right.
Bulk variance to allow to build single-family dwelling on the undersized lot. Mr. Lopez unfortunately needs to step down
Okay.
from this because his sister lives next door.
I'm ready for you.
Take it away, sir.
Good evening, everyone. As you recall, if you recall, a few months ago, this was adjourned, so to comply with the statute, they would contact to see if they could purchase any adjoining lots. Well, I have a letter on that from the township president.
Right. So, here you go.
The township, I'm sorry, that there is a moratorium, and therefore they would not sell the property.
Wait, just relax. Whatever you're doing, finish it, go back to the podium, then address the board, and when you do that, I'm gonna tell the board what you handed me, so everybody's on the same page.
Okay.
So, thank you, Mr. Zabel, it's good to see you, of course. Mr. Zabel just handed me a letter, on Borough of Glassboro, letterhead dated March 13, 2023. So, you think they made a mistake? Did you receive this in 2023? You had to
No,
get it in
just got it.
2024.
The date's wrong. It was,
All right, so then we're going to agree that they meant to say March 13, 2024, so that would
Correct.
be good. This is regarding an offer to purchase borough-owned property, Kentucky Avenue, Block 194, lots 54 and 55. Now, is that the lot on either side of the subject lot?
I believe there's 2 on one side, am I correct?
It's 2 on one side.
2 on one side,
Yes.
okay. So then this goes on and is addressed to your client, Ms. Trofosky. And please be advised, the Finance Committee, as well as the governing body, reviewed your quote-unquote offer to purchase land, its regular meeting Tuesday, March 12, 2024. Governing body voted not to approve any sale of the above referenced land you requested due to a moratorium of sale being placed on all properties in this area. Enclosed, you'll find your check for $2,000, which is submitted on February 1, 2024. So that's signed by the municipal clerk, Ms. Cosgrove, Karen Cosgrove. Now, that addresses one side. You got a letter for the other side? What's cooking on the other side?
Now, as you recall, this lot is undersized in a lot of areas. It's two 25-foot lots that were combined. And the variance that were.
So you gotta listen to what I just asked
Yeah.
you, and you gotta answer it.
Okay.
Because if you don't,
Okay.
then you really can't go forward.
Go ahead.
Well,
I'm sorry.
you talked about contiguous lots on one side of the subject lot.
Mhm.
And I said, how about, and that's why I inquired.
There's no other lots available on the other side.
Well, it's good that you say that,
Okay.
but you have the
I'm sorry.
obligation.
I'm sorry, I didn't make it clear. We went after.
No, and it's more than your representation. Listen, you're an officer of the court. Whatever
Yes.
you tell me, I take it as gospel, because that's the way it works. Because
Yeah.
you're only as good as
I
your
understand.
word. We understand that, we get that. But we're in a hearing, you know, a quasi-judicial kind of
I
thing,
understand.
where we need some sort of, you know, documentary support or testimony from the person who owns the lot next door or something like that. Other than that, how do we support the record? And by the way, I'm just gonna give you a teaser. You got somebody who's gonna object,
I know that.
so how do you're not gonna get to Jump Street unless you got that other piece. So before you go forward, because right now, you're not gonna meet your burden.
You're talking about the other lot.
Yeah.
You wanna swear in Ms. DeFreitas?
We're going to swear her in, but there's nothing she's going to be able to tell us that, unless she says, oh, I've been sitting on a letter and I just didn't give it to Mr. Zabel.
No. My understanding is, the other lots, there are properties on all the adjacent lots, am I correct?
There are properties on the adjacent lots,
There are
other than
houses.
one other lot, which is a combined lot, as well as 54, 55.
They're all owned by someone, there is a house on a double
There are
lot.
3 homes on the street.
And I appreciate that, but for evidentiary purposes, it's frankly neither here nor there. I would expect, when I send out these letters, quite often, someone to send back a letter, and it may say no, 1,000 times no, but I still send out that letter, even though I know I'm going to get rebuffed. Why? It's my burden. So, I had kind of, I thought that got kind of made, I thought we published that before in a prior
My
listing.
understanding was that, I wasn't aware of the 2 vacant lots. We found out, we made the application to the township.
Well, listen, here we are,
Mhm, yes.
and, you know, you've proffered this, we'll accept this, but you can't go forward because this board would be constrained to just deny your application, because you haven't met your burden to do that, your due diligence. So you can make a request, listen, sometimes life intervenes and you get a curveball. We should not be having this conversation.
I agree.
But it happens.
I agree.
It happens.
I agree.
So I've got my obligation to the board, and you could go through this and, we'll hear some objecting testimony, well, I don't even know what it is. They may have some basis for it, who knows? But it's neither here nor there, because even if they weren't here, I'd still be stuck with directing the board to say he hasn't met his burden about the other contiguous property. So now this has been adjourned a few times.
So there's renoticing.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to,
So I quite frankly know how to comply other than writing to the neighbor and hoping
Yes,
they'll
that's
respond.
exactly what you do. And I did
I've never
that
done that,
just
sir.
the other day
It's the first
on
time for
3
me.
applications.
I will be honest with you, I've never heard that in 36 years. But that's okay. I haven't heard everything, so I know I don't know everything, but I've never heard that before.
No, I'm
But
not
it's
here
new.
to make
It's
your
new.
life difficult.
That's okay.
I'm here
It's
to
going to be,
represent
but-
the board's interest.
That's fine.
And part of that is to direct my board to maybe not do certain things, and in this case, to not grant relief if we haven't met our burden. And yes, I send that letter out certified and regular, and then sometimes I get a response, no, sometimes it just goes into the ether. Never gets
So
picked
there's
up
only one
certified,
contiguous
never gets,
property, so
but
you-
I've got a copy that it was mailed, I got the proof of mailing, my white proof of mailing, and I just say, the regular mail was not returned, certified never picked up, here we are. And then the board would say, all right, you did your due diligence. Listen, it's what we do, for better, for worse.
Thank you.
So, before you roll, Mr. Chairman, what do we want to, for Mr. Zabel, renotice, what are we doing? He presumably is gonna write that letter and, I guess, come back, but, because it's been adjourned a couple times. so.
Renotice.
All right, so Mr. Zabel, we're gonna have you renotice, come back, write that letter, and we'll see you in the future. We're gonna hang on to this, this piece is already done.
What do you think?
Well, I see no reason not to. I mean,
It's the original. Yes.
Let's see what we have.
Okay.
We'll just make an announcement that, may I make an announcement?
Sure, go ahead.
Listen, I'm kind of a loud talker, so you may well have heard that the application ZB 23-14, I'll call it Trafalski and DeFreitas, is being adjourned. There will be new notice to those within 200 feet. And if you heard, there was a little bit of an issue with contiguous property owners, so you'll be renoticed, and maybe we'll see everybody on another day.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Workshop committee.
Me.
Diane.
Okay, they have the new format, and there were 2 sessions, and I was there representing the zoning board, at this time, and I'm trying to remember what I was doing. She has it. Thank you, it was in the back.
Canara Enterprises. Subdivide 2 lots into 5 lots.
Right, so.
That group can't make a binding decision. All we can do is discuss what they need to do to fix things up and, you know.
Okay, and this Shabbat at Rowan Synagogue?
Correct. That will be coming before
Us?
the ZBA, I believe, yes.
They want to be on Mick Drive?
Yes.
Anything else that's good?
Nope.
Okay. Nothing about Raising Cane?
Nope.
Yeah, the first one was that involved us, the first
Right.
one at 9 o'clock. The second one, they
Still with
kindly
committee?
asked me to leave because,
Oh, okay.
you know, and I was thrilled with it, you know.
What was the second one?
This one had to do with a
Synagogue.
completeness review, but we don't, this is zoning and this is just planning,
Oh, okay.
so.
Oh.
When you get to just planning, we
Sounds a
don't
little-
participate.
I don't know.
All right.
They should have let you stay.
Mr. Alice, you have a report for us?
Well, as a matter of fact, Mr. Chair, members, thank you. We have a single resolution, and we'll get to wrapping this up. Resolution R 24-10, and you may well remember this was South Jersey Investments, maybe an overly ambitious application. The board ultimately denied it. For your consideration, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. No, motion for the.
Resolution.
Resolution.
Yeah, this is South Jersey
the
Investments
resolution.
LLC, Lot 14, Lot 19.
We know you're in a rush, man. Roll call, please.
Ms. Lafferty?
I take it back.
Yes. Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Perner?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
4.
And Mr. Noonan?
4. Do we have any old business? Nothing new? Anybody coming up? I saw they did the parking lot at Lishio's. Looks pretty good.
Good. Yeah,
Are they gonna take care of,
Out there.
are they gonna take care of the middle part too? Eventually?
Yeah, I think it's all gonna get cleaned up.
'Cause that's usually Pothole City.
Yeah.
They've already,
that's a mess.
they've already fixed it.
And nothing
all.
on Raising Cane, nothing.
I haven't seen, that's all planning board matters. There's been nothing on Chick-fil-A recently, which is the other, you know, on the other side of the list.
Nothing on Chick-fil-A?
So Mr. Casabone, I did get, and Mr. Cowan, I did get the permit application for Chick-fil-A that's currently kind of doing a courtesy review, but I will not release it until all the approvals have been met from both of you. So if you could just keep your ears and eyes open to let me know when, I can always shoot you an email also to make sure, before I do release it, that everything's been met by them.
That That would be great.
But the plans are in-house to
Okay.
be reviewed. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And for new business, I'm sorry if I'm gonna jump
Go ahead.
ahead.
You're good.
Everybody might have gotten an email from the clerk asking for you to go in to do your financial disclosure.
Correct.
The deadline is April 30th, so make sure that you do that. If you did
You never
not get an
tell me.
email from the clerk, you can contact Kathy McClear at the clerk's office and to make sure you get your financial
We
disclosure.
go in to, we can do it there?
You can also go into the clerk and I'm sure they'll sign you up on a computer and help you do it there also.
Yeah, it's
Thank
gotta
you. I
be
mean, I've
done
done it for a lot of years, but I've always done it,
It's gotta be
I've
done
always done
online.
it not.
Right, online. They'll
Yeah,
sign you
just-
up online. But April 30th is the deadline to make sure everybody gets that done.
Yeah, should be done.
All right, so our next meeting is May 16th, 2024. We have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, wait. Before anybody seconds
Mr.
it.
Pierpont.
Mr. Pierpont, I'm sorry, sir.
Public comment?
Anybody from the public have anything they'd like to say? Please step forward.
Clark Pierpont, zoning officer for the Borough of Glassboro. I just wanted to officially clarify some confusion over the workshop meeting and how it operates. On the second Tuesday of the month at 9 a.m., we have our workshop meeting where a representative from the zoning board, from the planning board, our professionals and myself, planning board coordinator, meet to review any applications to the workshop committee. Following that meeting, when that meeting adjourns, Mr. Alice, we constitute another meeting, which is the Completeness Review Committee, which is our two professionals, myself, and the planning board coordinator to act as a secretary, where we take any application to either board, planning or zoning board of adjustment, and check it to make sure that it meets the requirement to be deemed complete, so that the board can hear it. And if it doesn't, then the engineer's office writes the applicant a letter stating exactly what is needed prior to a hearing being scheduled, so that we try and avoid applications being submitted
Then how did this
2
get,
weeks prior
I
to the
just
meeting.
wanna
how did this get submitted
Mr. Alice, I'd be
without
happy to
that
discuss
letter
that
from
with you after the
continuous
meeting.
owner?
I don't think you want me to say that on the record.
No.
So if there are any questions about that and how that
Before the
meeting
meeting.
works,
Yeah.
feel free to reach out to myself or the planning board coordinator, Christine D'Amico.
It was
Thanks.
deemed before.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so be it.